Hey Nathan, it's Wednesday, September 24th. So it's pretty well known that food wastage is a big problem for a lot of our world, especially considering that many other places in our world have not enough food. Most children growing up in the US and other affluent countries don't even consider the shortage of available food to be feasible. Parents have actually had to come up with sayings to get their kids to not waste their food, such as, "Eat your broccoli, there are starving children in..." Insert whichever place sounds far away and poor enough. And while that phrasing is incredibly generalizing for an entire population of people, there are people in the world who lack access to adequate food, even though around 1/3 of food produced for human consumption annually is wasted. Well, aside from miniature humans who are picky eaters, another huge contributor to food waste is food becoming no longer edible due to expiration. But do we need to be as afraid of printed expiration dates as we are? As it turns out, a lot of us are probably just a little too cautious when it comes to the dates on food. In fact, the FDA doesn't really regulate through food dates except for when it comes to baby formula, but that's only because over time the vitamins and nutrients in the formula can break down, which won't be as nourishing for the baby. But with almost all foods, it's fairly safe to eat them for some time after the date listed on the package. So what are the dates there for then? More so for the guaranteed quality by the company, not for safety. Now, I'm not saying all food lasts indefinitely or doesn't need to be stored properly, but if you have a can of beans that's like 6 months expired, they're not dangerous to eat. They just might not have as much flavor, or they might be a little mushier. But as long as the can isn't damaged, they're fine to eat. Same goes for packaged dry foods, as long as the seal hasn't been tampered with. Refrigerated food requires a little more rigidity, but not as much as people think. For example, eggs can last several weeks past their expiration date as long as they have been refrigerated properly. Milk too doesn't go bad that quick in an unhealthy way as long as it hasn't sat out. If it smells fine, there shouldn't be any risk to drinking it. When it comes to fresher produce and meats though, you should still be a little more cautious, but again, listen to what your senses tell you. I have a lot of trouble wasting food because it really does seem awful to imagine everything that the food has gone through to come into my possession, like being grown in the ground and then harvested and then preserved and then shipped and then being processed into other foods and then being packaged and shipped and purchased just to be thrown away because it sat around too long. Especially on top of all of that, there are people who don't have the luxury of buying food destined to be thrown away. It just makes me feel like a jerk, you know? I'm glad to know though that we have a lot of brilliant people working on the slowing of food waste and the growth of food abundance worldwide. Nathan, we'll see you on Friday. What are food spoilage regulations like where you live? Or do you have any? I got most of my information from NPR, but let's discuss more in the comments because I still don't know a whole lot about how food spoils and how that affects the health. Thanks for liking and sharing this video.